ever since Bandai announced at the World Championships that we will not only be getting global simultaneous release in the One Piece trading card game, but also a upcoming rotation, it's very clear that Bandai has committed to the longevity of the One Piece trading card game and not necessarily like a 3 to 4 year stint like their other games that they've made. With the announcement of rotation, I personally get questions constantly about rotation that maybe Bandai didn't really make super clear, or really just misinformation people have. If you missed the news over on my Twitter account, Bandai, both in Japan and English, released an update this morning regarding the block icon and rotation. There's some big news as well as some repeated and more clarified information that we got within this. So this video is basically going to be talking about that and explaining to you guys and helping you understand what's been said. I'm going to start off with the English side first, just simply because it's a little bit easier to read when you don't have to translate the whole thing, right? And it's like the Google automatic translate where some of the stuff kind of sounds weird and whatnot. If you're a little bit unaware of what block rotation is, all of the One Piece trading cards in the card game have this little number in the bottom right hand corner. Some of them have 1, some of them have 2, some of them have 3, and some of them have 4. In April 2026, cards in block 1, or have that 1 in the bottom corner, will not be permitted to be utilized within the standard regulation of the One Piece trading card game, which is going to be a majority of their events and tournament structure. In April 2026, we'll only be allowed to play with cards from 2 to whatever is the present. And then every year, a new block of cards will be rotated out. So in April 2027, I'm pretty sure they'll kick out block 2. And then, April 2020. Now, we did at the World Championships get confirmation that manga rare cards will be in this kind of like eternal format, or will survive rotation. And on the website, they've given you a list of those manga rare cards, basically just making it clear that everybody knows the exact numbering of those cards. It will not only be the manga rare version that will be legal, but the base rarity version as well, because it would be insane if the only OP01 Searcher Nami version that you could play is the manga rare version. No, all of the different versions that they've ever printed, all 10,000 of them, will be legal in the standard format past rotation. They also gave a little bit of clarification on these manga rare cards and how they actually survive rotation, for lack of a better term. They're officially introducing the block icon X. These super parallel rare cards, or the manga rares, and cards with the same code on them, for instance, like I said with the Nami, all of these different versions of the Nami art, they're going to basically be errataed with the block icon X. It says with block icon X that these will remain standard legal regardless of whether they have been reprinted, and will generally be permitted for use in standard regulation. Basically saying, anything that has the block X icon will be used forever in the One Piece trading card game. Just kind of giving a little bit more clarification on that. Not necessarily saying anything new outside of the label block X, but just helping people understand that these cards specifically on this list will be the ones that get that forever in standard stamp. Unlike what a lot of people are dubbing as the manga rares for like Gum Gum Giant, Dead Man's Game, Honesty Impact, like those event cards, that's not technically manga rares or cards that are included in this list. I think they made this kind of to give the general understanding of like what cards actually fit into this category, hence why they made the list. They also mentioned way back at the World Championships how some cards may get put into other blocks to keep their longevity. First hinting at those manga rares or super parallel rares that we talked about just now. They went ahead and locked onto that idea and grandfathered a lot of block icon 1 cards into block icon 4, making them legal for standard format use from now until March 31st, 2029. And as you can see to my left, or my right, your left, this is the list of cards that will be grandfathered into Block 4. If you need a visual of the actual cards, maybe you're not 100% sure what all of these cards are, here's the picture. Now, a couple things that we can gauge from these cards are specifically the zero cost event. All of these cards are in Block 1 and are going to be rotated out of the standard format and also being reprinted in PRBO2. It's very clear that they have this idea on some of these cards that they want to keep around for different ideas and potential decks heading into the next couple formats. The zero cost events I like keeping because, well, they're kind of just really nice cards in the game. They're not overly powerful. They have cool triggers and can really help you out if you got some bricks in hand, right? Having some counter. But they're some of the more safe cards that every single color has access to, and it wouldn't really make sense for yellow, for green, right? Having those cards in Block 2 to have these specific events, but none of the other colors do. They also give specific notes to cards like Buggy. Buggy, if you do not know, is a really important card in decks like OP12 Silver's Rayleigh, which I don't think is a surprise to many people, would take a hit in its viability if Buggy were to rotate out of the format. The same can be said for something like Usopp, even though Usopp has kind of fallen to the wayside in the format and is much more of a rogue option. Losing Kurita Coliseum would, I think it would hurt the deck a lot. It already hurts when you don't see Kurita Coliseum in the game, but now it really stings. Bonnie, right, especially with OPO7 Bonnie or Trafalgar Law, right, Supernova decks within green that they love to pump through. Losing Bonnie would be a hindrance to a couple of those decks that are going to stay within rotation, at least as leaders and supported archetypes. So it's nice having searchers like Bonnie, Curly Didon, right? With OP13 on the horizon, Didon might be able to find some specific one cost that you want to utilize in your red deck, since there's so many red brother leaders, all three of them, and Hina just being a very valuable combo so long as Becca is around, or Rebecca. I called her Becca. Becky is around. There's some weird ones in here, like the 2-drop Killer and the 2-drop You Can Be My Samurai. And if we're being honest, little bit weird that Ideo is in here. I feel like there's enough good Dressrosa cards that we don't need Ideo. These cards, again, will be slotted in Block 4 and will be usable until 2029. So if you have a market watch sense, make sure you have these cards, because I feel like the alternate versions of these cards will go up and they will stay up. They also had a little footnote at the end of this page of other updated block icons and cards that have been reprinted if it's relevant after April 2026. It's kind of unclear what that means, of what they'll want to qualify in this space. Maybe something if like a card for Goldie Roger, right, is going to rotate in April, but they want Goldie Roger to still be viable, so they're add it into Block 4 with Roger, so then Roger can continue using it. That's just an example that I think will happen. But again, that's just my theory and my assumption heading in with this new update that they've given. The Japanese page has much more conversation revolving around the rotation and other bits of information that we get along with it. I've translated it in English, so then if any of you want to read it for yourself as I'm talking about it, you can. Although we knew that this was happening, we knew that standard regulation was going to happen within the One Piece trading card game with rotation, and also that there are going to be extra regulations added on. They mentioned at the World Championships of an eternal format, right, where every single card is legal outside of maybe the banned cards, because they don't want to break the game. But after April 2026, you can still play your OPO1 Doflamingo Blue leader. This is once again confirmed right here, and I think it's hinting towards the eternal format, but there is potential in the future that there's going to be an Edison kind of format, to where maybe they include yes, we are only going to allow cards that were legal for the Los Angeles National Championships that happened last year, and you can only play within that format. Or maybe 3 years down the line, you can only play Block 2 format, where the cards that were legal were Block 2 to Block 5 5 or something like that. It's unclear how much they want to support it. Like, is this going to be a Pokemon expanded kind of support where there's barely any tournaments and it's really just only like a local format to where like you can hold official local tournaments of Eternal or Edison, I'll just call it. But in terms of like, there's not going to be like big prize money cereals or uncut sheets or anything like that. It's very unclear about what they're actually going to do with it outside of just supporting it and having it be an actual format. I assume more information will come on that in the future. They actually explicitly say in this Japanese post that a lot of the confusion that has come with the block rotation is really just a result of their lack of explanation and consideration to the community. Kind of honest, I mean, really just owning up to it. They were going to hold this information a little bit longer until more towards when this was actually going to start happening in April. But according to a lot of concerns regarding this and how they were going to handle it, they decided to just let it all out today. Like, just let everybody know this so then they have enough time to stew on it for the next 8 months before rotation actually happens. They also explicitly say that every block icon 1 card in PRBO2 will be treated as block icon 4 cards and are valid under the new standard regulations on April 1st, 2026. They have the same list that we showed off earlier, and just kind of browsing the cards that we know that are in PRBO2, I think those are the only cards that are actually in Block 1, right? Because the majority of cards in Block 1 were printed in PRBO1. Just doing a quick browse, I think that list is a complete list. But then again, they did have this category up here for like cards that we can include later. And so there might be a thing in the next couple weeks that shoved into this because it's in PRBO2 confirmed, but not in the list that they had above. And again, there's still plenty of more information before PRBO2 releases, and we'll talk about that either here on this channel or in our Discord server. If you want to join, the link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, we've got plenty of content coming out later this week and beyond, especially of OP12, OP13, different stuff going on, and I hope you're here to join me. Thank you again so much, and we'll see you later.